Direct misfire. Direct misfire.
Welcome to Direct Misfire's Dwarf Army List Review. This is Spoon and
Bensome. Hello.
today we're going to go through the Dwarf Army List, go through all the army entries, the fluff and whatnot, and hopefully get a bit of an idea of how the dwarves work, and hopefully you can get something out of this.
Play a bit better with dwarves if you're crap.
Not that where.
I've done alright, I've played a few. I'm doing okay.
Yeah.
Alright, so we'll start from the start. The dwarf army. Background wise, they're pretty stock standard dwarves. Heavy set, bearded, loyal, stubborn, like mining and gold and whatnot.
Very similar to that other game.
Except they're above ground a lot of the time, merchants and traders and etc. That's about it. There's not much detail in the book. Just gives you a brief
Overview sort of thing.
Yeah. So with that out of the way, the army-wide special rule. So all the dwarves, unless specified, are headstrong. So if you're wavered on a 4-up, they're not wavered. And they also have the option to equip a dwarven throwing mastiff. So essentially it's just a dog that they sick on people.
Yep.
Roll 5 dice within 12 inches. This is a one-off attack, shooting attack. And then, so you roll your 5 dice, they hit on 4-up, and then
Damage is
wound.
normal?
Yeah.
No piercing?
Not that I know of, no.
And against your shambling?
Against the shambling, you get to re-roll any dice that fail to damage.
Yep.
Any dice that do damage, you can roll again. So you get
it's
a
like
free attack.
It's an exploding attack.
So if you're super lucky, you can keep rolling numbers.
Yep.
But usually, in my experience, they don't do much. But, part and parcel. So starting off, we'll go from book entry.
Yeah. We'll do the entry list. We'll just go straight down.
Okay, so we're
fourth list.
starting off with the
Ironclad.
Ironclad. They're the grunts
Yep.
of your dwarf.
Basic troops.
Troop regiment and horde formations. Speed 4, which seems to be standard across dwarves.
Yep.
Average fighting ability of
4 up.
defense 5, standard attacks and nerve. Points at average 75, 110, 180.
Yep.
And you can equip them with mastiffs. Now, they're just your core. Unless you have something in mind, it's a good starting spot.
I think they're pretty good overall. Defense 5's pretty hard to knock around.
I wouldn't use them in troops.
No, I could see them useful in regiments or hordes.
Yeah. And not troops, just because the speed 4.
They're too slow to get anywhere,
Yeah.
and they've only got a nerve of 10,
Yeah.
10, 12, which means a lucky round of shooting is going to take them. Magic shooting is going to take them off the board, I think.
Yeah. But, yeah, alright. I don't use them all that often because I usually have either Iron Guard or Shield Breakers or something that's just a bit more specified.
Yeah. That's not to say that they're a bad unit, but...
Yeah, if you don't know what you're doing, take some Ironclad.
Yeah.
So we'll go on to Iron Guard.
Oh, before we go any further...
Yes?
Any particular magic items you'd think about throwing on them?
I just feel if you add a magic item onto these guys, you're better off taking a different unit that does the same thing.
Cost effectiveness
Yeah.
isn't there.
If you want to fight better, take some Iron Guard. If you want to hit harder, take some Shield Breakers. So
Yep. Okay. So magic item isn't really all that important in this sort of unit.
Maybe take the Scrying Gem, something that's a bit...
It's not helping their fighting ability, it's helping the overall army.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
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 Next up, Iron Guard. So these are the elite fellas.
Yep.
So the best of the best of the best, sir. Triple regiment only. No hordes with these guys.
They are your
they're
elite
elite.
troop.
Yeah.
Yep.
like the Ironclad, but they fight better and they are more defensive. Fighting 3, defense 6. You can give them Mastiffs again. We won't say give them Mastiffs. We'll point out if they can't equip.
Yeah, because a lot of them, by the looks, can take the Mastiff.
You have the option of dropping your defense and getting Crushing Strength, which isn't a bad idea because defense 5 is still pretty good.
Yeah, it's still pretty hard to move.
It's all dependent on your army, whether or not you want to, if you need some more punch.
Yep.
But for my playstyle, I like to keep the defense 6.
They're very hard to move with defense 6.
You can boost that with your items to reduce the nerve roll by 1.
Oh, yeah.
Which helps.
Brew of Courage. That's a good one, yeah.
I don't think they're punchy enough to add any offensive items, +1 a hit.
Yep.
Or Crushing Strength. I don't think it does it for them. Unless you can think of anything else that would work well.
I don't think so.
Just their regiment of 20. You can't invest heavily in them.
They're
And
at
12
160
attacks.
points. They're pretty good for 160 points.
I like them just because they're defense 6.
Yeah, yep. Hard to move.
Yep.
They'll be a great anvil, even if they don't take out a lot. If they're just holding a unit up, they're doing their job, I suppose.
I mean, if you've got points to spare, maybe throw some Mastiffs on them, just a shooting attack.
Yep.
Why not?
Yeah, that extra nerve test, possibly.
Yeah.
Alright, do you want to move on to the next unit?
Shield Breakers.
Yep.
These are like Ironclad, but breaking shields, so they hit harder.
They've got a slightly lower defense, though.
Yes, so standard melee attack of 4, defense is lowered to 4, but they get Crushing Strength 2, which is pretty big.
Yeah, so these guys hit quite a bit harder than your Ironclad.
Yeah. I like to take them in Horde just for the amount of attacks.
25 attacks, yeah.
And then boost it up with the +1 hit, so
hitting on threes.
a lot of those attacks are hitting and damaging quite a bit with the Crushing Strength 2. I don't think they need much else.
No. Like, even if your opposition's defense 6, you're going down to 4s, which is still...
That's still pretty good with 25 attacks.
Yeah.
So yeah. All Walkers, the next ones. I haven't used these guys yet. I've used other variants in other armies. I do like the Phalanx rule, negating the Thunderous Charge.
Yeah.
So it makes them more of a defensive unit.
Could you see yourself running these in your army?
I would use these guys instead of Ironclad.
Yep. Yeah. So would I, probably. Just for the Phalanx special.
Yeah. And they get more attacks as well.
Yeah.
So then melee's 4, defense is 5, just like an Ironclad, but more attacks. So troops the same, regiments 3 more, and Horde is 5 more attacks.
Yeah, you are paying a little bit more points-wise, but I think the Phalanx special pays for itself.
Yeah.
Every time there.
The reason why I haven't taken these yet, just because there's a lot of choice in the army, and I find I don't need that unit for my overall army.
There's no hole in your army list as such.
That's right.
Yeah. That's fair enough. Any particular magic items you'd whack on those guys? I'd consider... what is it? Is it Chant of... Bane Chant, or what? The
Elites?
one that gives you... No, the one that gives you piercing.
Is
there one that gives you a piercing?
Crushing Strength or Piercing?
One of the... Crushing Strength,
Crushing Strength.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd consider that on the spears.
I think any sort of buff is helpful.
Yep.
I don't think it's mandatory because you do have more offensive units.
Yeah, true.
If you want to punch, you'll take something else. Is what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
Just, I see the Phalanx, I think defensive, so I'll buff their defense more. And that would be with the nerve roll. Have them sticking around.
Yeah.
Crushing Strength's good on anything. Except for ranged warriors, maybe.
Yeah, I'm just thinking with dwarves, because the points, they're not exactly cheap. If you're buying a unit of them, you want them to... I don't know, I suppose it's a toss-up between them and the Ironclad, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, if you're buying a unit of them, you want them to stick around, I think, because then points denial for your opponent as well.
I don't know. I think there's several magic items you could put on those guys to make them really, really good. But Yeah, when you look at like Iron Guard or even Shield Breakers, comparing those, I don't know, it's a tough... It all comes down to your army composition, I think.
Mm. And you want to make sure they're up against the chariots or
the
heavy cav.
the cav and whatnot, yeah. It doesn't matter if your opposition army doesn't have cavalry or chariots or anything like that. If you're making an overall tournament list, I think they're still probably quite handy. Just to negate... If you can negate any Thunderous Charge...
I'll probably take them in the regiment. I think that's the sweet spot.
Horde, I wouldn't be investing in a horde of spears for dwarves.
Yeah, troops too soft for that unit.
Yeah, I think a lot of the
and
troops...
horde is just... That's a big unit.
Yeah, it's a big unit of spears, and they don't... By themselves, without any magic items, I don't think they do enough damage to justify putting that many points, 250 points into that unit. Might be alright against normal infantry, but you come up against anything with a reasonable defence and you're going to be in a bit of trouble, I think.
Yeah, like I said, I don't feel they're an offensive unit. They're just there to hold things up and get other guys punching them in the ribs.
Alright, we'll move on to the next unit.
Infantry with crossbows, Iron Watch crossbows. So like standard ranged guys, these guys don't hit as well. These are melee 5, standard range of 5, defense 4, so don't hit as well, and they're a bit softer. They come in troop, regiment, and horde flavors. Standard nerve attacks are also standard 8, 10, 20. They armed with crossbows, as their name implies, which gives them piercing 1 and reload.
I don't mind these guys. I think they're quite good. It's a toss up for me between crossbows and the next gen, the Iron Watch
rifles.
Yeah.
They're a bit cheaper than the rifles. The rifles are the same stat line, just with rifles.
Yep. So that gives them piercing 2 and reload.
Yeah, but everything else is the same.
Just a crossbow range is it 24?
24 and 24. Yeah, so they're both the same.
Both same range. So you're paying the extra points for the extra piercing.
Yeah.
So it's either either really.
Yeah.
Comes down to your army composition if you've got the extra points.
Mm-hmm. And items will be the same.
Yeah.
If you're taking a horde for more attacks, you make sure you want them to hit. So +1 to hit with ranged or elite.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. You definitely... I think you almost need that +1 to hit on either of those units. Like hitting on 5s isn't anything too crush up.
No, but it depends on what you want them to... If you're aiming for them to be the power killer, I don't think you need to add... Well, if you want them to be like, then you've got to make sure that they're hitting, but it's still only 20 attacks. You've got a lot of better choices with punchy ranged in the Dwarf list.
Yeah. As in, war machines and...
I think this is a good unit to sit there and annoy your opponent, give your opponent something to think about.
And take off a couple of damage here and there rather than take off a unit sort of thing. Yeah.
That's my opinion anyway.
Yeah. Do we need to do Iron Watch rifles?
No, but it's the same thing.
Same thing?
Yep.
Yeah. Move on to the next unit.
Rangers. These are troop and regiment only. These are a bit of a specialised unit. They move slightly faster than your standard dwarf with 5. Melee, range and defense are all 4, so they shoot a bit better. They have Pathfinder and Vanguard, so they're designed to...
The scout.
Get up and annoy.
Yep.
Light crossbows, which are just your bows.
Yep.
And crushing strength, so they can shoot fairly accurately and they can punch in combat, even though it's not a lot of attacks because it's either troop or regiment. I think these will be good for scenarios.
Yeah, holding your markers
or
and
picking up tokens or annoying.
Buzzing off. Yep. I could see these used quite effectively in troops. I
would like to take them in troops rather than regiments.
Yep.
Just because of the price of the regiment.
Yeah, it is pretty hefty, isn't it?
I feel like you'll be wasting your rules. The Pathfinder or Vanguard, especially if you're up front with these guys with their willies in the wind.
Yep.
They'll probably just get punched and then you just lose some points. So.
Yeah, yep. You've got to be careful with them, like any Vanguarding unit.
A couple of troops would be good though.
Yep. No, I could see them being quite annoying.
And for that reason, maybe the neg 1 to nerve roll would be good.
Is there an item that makes them stealthy? -1 to hit?
I don't know.
That might be 1 to throw on them, so they're -1 to hit.
If you can try and make them more survivable.
Yeah, anything that buffs them up, like gives them a defensive buff, would be the way to go, I think, with these guys.
Speed would be a
So-
stray, given the move 6. Vanguarding and Pathfinder move 6 would be okay for a dwarf.
Yeah. It's also going to come down to what your opposition thinks is a bigger threat. The little units that are going to take off the tokens or the big units coming at them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Target saturation is always good.
Yeah.
You can never go wrong with that. I can't really see any
Yeah.
stealthy. Maybe.
I'd say...
So I'm just to scroll. Oh yeah, there is the fog. 35 points for stealthy.
Yep. Okay. Alright. That might be one to consider. It's a bit expensive, but it would make them survivable.
The only, again, speed 5. Your enemy could probably catch them pretty quick.
They do get a free at the double move at the start for their Vanguard.
So good for scenarios of war machine hunting,
Yeah.
maybe.
I still think they're usable.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think there's
I've used them before. I like them for the
Yeah.
objectives.
defensive magic items the way to go on those, I think, though. Next unit, so move over to the Sharpshooters.
Sharpshooters. These are your standard dwarves that shoot a bit better with range 4.
Yep.
And they have long rifles, so 36 inch on those guys.
These guys have a different base size, though. They're 25 by 50 mil.
Yeah.
So
Because they have long rifles.
yeah, these guys. That's a cavalry size base.
And reload, so you want to pick your deployment wisely.
Yeah, wisely.
plonk them
Otherwise,
down.
you're going to be missing rounds of shooting because you're moving.
Piercing 2 is pretty good, so... I mean, you can only take them in troops of 5.
They have a very low nerve.
I would use these like a war machine.
Yep.
Especially if you add the +1 to hit, so they're hitting on 3s.
Yep.
And piercing 2, that's a fairly reliable ranged attack.
Yeah. They've only got a small amount of shots as well, so...
And
I think you're going to have to be picking your targets very carefully.
and also being infantry, so height 1.
Yeah.
That's something that you've got to take in. I think they've got their place. If you're out of War Machine, if you're taking a super gun heavy list and you're out of War Machine slots, a couple of units of Sharpshooters.
100 points for a troop.
Yeah,
I don't think that's overly bad.
No, that's fine. Range 4.
Anything else for that unit?
No.
Yeah. Alright, move down to the next infantry unit, Berserkers.
The thing that catches, I think, most people's eye with the Dwarf, Berserker Brock Riders.
Oh, well, that's the next unit.
Yeah.
Do you want to do
I'm going
Berserkers
left to
first?
right. I'm going left to right, like a proper book.
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm on the app, so Berserkers is next. We'll do the Berserker Brock Riders.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, you
All
will be. Excuse me.
So we'll run through the stats. So these guys are dwarves on Brocks.
Brocks, which is Badger, but
Yeah.
they're called Brocks.
Yep.
Um,
Very quick dwarf. So move 8, melee 4 up. They don't have a range value because they got no shooting. Defense 4.
a lot of attacks.
Yeah, a lot of attacks. 13 attacks for the troop. 26 for the regiment.
And they're fearless as well.
Yeah. So no wavering, which is very, very good. And the points value is 135 and 210.
I think these are great.
I think they're cool, really cool for a dwarf army because it does exactly what the other game didn't do. It gives you
Speed.
yeah.
And they can punch as well. A lot of attacks.
Yes, yeah. With Thunderous Charge 1, I mean, you still got to be careful that you're not running through terrain when you're charging.
The Vicious helps as well.
Yeah, for the rerolling ones.
Mm-hmm.
It's a wound.
Yeah.
I'd love to. If I had a dwarf army, I'd be taking these guys in
Every
a heartbeat.
day.
Yep, in a heartbeat.
It helps that the figures look pretty cool too.
Yeah. I quite like
Now going back to what you were saying, Berserkers, they're just the dudes without the Brocks.
Yes.
So they're slow.
Essentially the same thing, but on foot. They do have...
Because they're not cavalry, they have lower defense.
Yeah, they do. And the troop... they're about par on par with attacks and whatnot. They're exactly the same thing, essentially, just one's quicker than the other.
I prefer to take these in troops instead.
Yep.
Because the troop has 20 attacks in itself.
Yes.
That's a butt ton for 10 guys.
Also has quite a high nerve value
For a troop. Yeah. And
being
they're
16.
faster than normal dwarves.
Yeah. Oh,
With
that
speed 5.
extra inch always matters.
That's what she said. What would you use magic items for either of these two units?
Seeing the... Do you want to do the Brock Riders
I can
first?
combine it together.
For me,
works well.
I would say speed on the Berserkers.
Pathfinder.
For the Brock Rider, I would be giving them that Caterpillar Pathfinder item.
Or nimble.
Yeah, either.
So anything that helps you move about.
Yeah.
Because you want them to move about and get them in the flanks.
I think the biggest thing with the Brock Riders is if you lose that Thunderous Charge, they're not going to do quite as well.
Right, yeah.
Because they just don't have... They're meant to be a punchy unit, but if they don't have that Thunderous Charge, I don't think
so
they're
wouldn't
quite
put
as effective.
maybe crushing strength or...
It depends on the points.
Yeah.
Maybe. Then you've...
And you could do also helping their melee go through, so elite or plus on a hit.
Yeah, it comes down. I think it comes down to how you're going to play them.
But yeah, I think Pathfinder is probably the way to go.
Yeah, Pathfinder. For me, it would be Pathfinder. I can see use for having the crushing strength on them. Elite.
Speed 6 is also pretty hard to get by. That's speed 9, sorry.
Oh yeah, for the Brock Riders, yeah. Yep.
Berserkers are in the same boat. I mean, they don't punch very hard because they've got no crushing strength,
Yep.
no thunderous charge, so you could add that to them, or speed to make them run a bit faster.
The sheer volume of attacks, I think these guys are great against your normal infantry that don't have a high defense.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that being said, the Brock Riders probably could do the same role, just a lot quicker. I don't know. I think there's a few magical item combinations you could whack on either of those units.
It's hard to just do without looking at a list because a lot of these units will be sharing the same sort of items.
Yeah.
So you have to pick and choose.
Yeah, very carefully.
Bit unfortunate, but there you go. Spoilt for choice, that's what it is.
Move on to the next unit entry, and we have, well, for me,
yep.
Earth Elementals.
We'll just go with you and I can flip through. Earth Elementals.
Yep. Yeah. So these guys, large infantry, speed 5, melee 4, defense 6. Standard
large infantry
so
attacks 9 and 18.
9 and 18, yeah. Nerve of... they can't waver because they're fearless. Got a nerve of 14 for the regiment, 17 for the horde. And points are 130 versus 200.
So pretty standard for this sort of elemental.
Yeah. Very similar to other elementals. Pretty similar to most...
I'd say the
large infantry.
Standard, yeah. Defense 6 is good. Not all elementals have that.
No.
Still crushing strength 1, which is okay. It helps.
Yeah, I think they've got enough. 9 and 18 attacks, depending on what size you take. I think they're still quite good. Pathfinder's handy. Shambling is... Whilst it's great to have someone with Surge in your army, your characters can cast Surge.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
Can be an up and down thing. Having played a lot of Empire of Dust, some of my units don't have it, and you're like, why doesn't it have it? I need it. But
I
could be
think
quite
Shambling
cool.
is awesome.
Quite cool in a dwarf list, I think, and I think the Earth Elementals suit them quite well.
And depending on how you want to play them, there's a lot of items that work, so you can make them your anvil by making it harder for them to rout, or you could give them an extra crushing strength if you wanted them punch better.
Yeah.
And that goes the same with the next thing that comes up on my list. Is that for you? The Greater Earth Elemental.
Yep.
Similar thing. This one is a monster though. Hits the same, defense is the same, attacks are 8 for this beast, nerves a bit high with 18.
And he sits at 160 points.
So he's kind of in between the Earth Elementals, Regiment, and Horde.
Yep.
He's a Rord?
Ba-doonch.
Crushing Strength 3, Pathfinder and Shambling. If you want a monster, take this guy.
I think he's...
If you want a Stone Priest with Surge, take this guy.
If you're not taking the guy that actually casts... Is that what he's called? A Stone Priest, is he? Or what's he called?
As far as I know.
Yeah. If you're going to take the Elementals, you definitely need the character that casts Surge. Otherwise, you're just wasting your time.
But he's a 75 by 75 base block.
Yep.
No.
So he's quite big.
And I'm sure depending on what miniature you use for him, it could be quite imposing. He's this big rock monster. It'd probably take a lot of fire just from the psychology of it.
Yep.
People wanted to get him off.
Anything big on the table will take a lot of fire. You can't give monsters magic items, so that's a pretty easy one.
Yep.
Move on to the next. I'll go by your book. What do you have to?
We've got a whole bunch of war machines here.
Yep. So which one?
Starting off with the Flame Belcher.
Right.
So we won't go through the speed with all these. They're all 4. So.
Yep.
And they're all defense 5 as well.
Mm-hmm.
But this guy's got an 18 attack breath weapon,
which is quite good.
If you've got a Warsmith, which is a little character for this army, within 6 inches, they also get elite.
Which is very
so
handy.
Hitting on 4s, re-rolling 1s is a lot of attacks.
Yes. That's...
Have to also see that there's no reload in the rules.
So you can move
and fire without penalty.
Yep.
So this guy, I think, is pretty cool. I would keep him up with some units to blast anything in the way, flyers that try to get overhead, turn, shoot.
Something you can consider, I use this tactic in my undead army, would be to use the breath weapon on a unit and then surge your...
Something else into it.
Surge your elementals into the unit, so they don't actually take the nerve test for the shooting, but they'll take a hell of a beating before your elementals get in there and do their business.
Clean up.
Yep.
But that's a good choice, Flame Belcher. It's only 12 inches, but like I said, you want to keep these guys with your fighting units.
Yep.
Standard, next one is Canon.
Yep.
The imaginative Canon. Standard Canon stats. 1 attack, blast d6 plus 2 with piercing 4 and reload. If you've got a Warsmith nearby, it gets d6 plus 3
instead
for its blast, which meh. I'd rather the Warsmith with the Flame Belcher than this guy.
Yep.
Because it's a 5 up to hit, so you have to hit first to make
use
use of that one extra.
The cannons are great if they hit.
So you've got to take a couple to make sure you're doing something in the game.
Yep. If they don't hit, for 110 points, it's not a waste of points, but
it's specialized also with its piercing 4, so you really only want to go for the
big tough monsters or characters or whatever. Yeah, anything with defense 6, so you're wounding it on 2s. Even if you're hitting defense 5 stuff, you're still wounding on 2s. But it's to take out those big monsters or big hefty units, I think.
Next up is the Gerund Bombard. So a stone thrower, rock lobber, catapult, that kind of thing. Same thing with its stats. 1 attack with blast d6. It has piercing 2 in reload and a special rule, lob it! ! So maybe you should yell it at people when someone asks what it does. Lob it! So it can be fired directly, just normally. As an alternative, you can choose to fire it indirectly, following the indirect special rule.
Yep.
It's got a range of 60 inches if you do that, but it's also got a minimum range of 12.
Yeah, yep.
So you want to be lobbing it most of the time.
Yep.
But you have the option of not, if they get close.
Again, much like the cannon hitting on 5s, it's going to be great when it hits. It doesn't hit, it's not the end of the world.
Prefer this one over the cannon because has the indirect.
Yep.
So you're not worrying about cover.
Yep.
And it also already has d6 plus 3, which is the Warsmith's buff for the cannon.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the same points.
Yep.
So take this instead.
Yep.
Piercing 2, it doesn't punch as hard when it does hit, but it's still piercing 2.
You're still knocking most normal infantry or monsters down to a 3-4 up, depending on what their defense is, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
Next one.
Another good war machine, similar to the Flame Belcher, but you don't want to move this guy, is the Iron Belcher Organ Gun.
Yep.
So, 24-inch range, piercing 2 with 15 attacks. Reload.
This thing's pretty good. I quite like it.
Like the Flame Belcher, if you got a Warsmith nearby babysitting, elite.
Just means a couple of those misses might come through as an extra couple of damage.
It's the same points as the Flame Belcher, so it's really what role you want it to take. It's got 24-inch range, so you kind of want him front and center, so it can shoot at something.
Yep. Not mobile like the Flame Belcher though. So yeah, again, probably comes down to your army composition.
Yeah.
What you're planning to do with it.
And I think that's all the war engines that they've got.
Yep.
So this interesting little guy, who's strangely a monster, the Battle Driller.
Ah, yes.
I haven't been able to get this guy into combat yet because he just keeps running around my dudes, not fighting. But the intention's there. So this guy is on a 25 by 50 mil base. It's essentially a dwarf pushing a drill. It's height 1, brutal, crushing strength 1, and individual.
That's a handy little rule to have for a monster.
It's only speed 4, but it's individual. Melee's 4, defense is 5, which is average.
Yep.
It has D6 plus 6 attacks.
Yeah. That's alright.
That with crushing strength 1 and individual. So it's a bit of a defensive thing. So if anything tries to get around the side, you can easily
I think it's a
pivot and charge.
great thing to try and knock off those annoying flyers or shitty little chaff units that are trying to bug you around. So,
and it's only 70 points.
Yeah, cheap as chips. I think I'd probably take 1 or 2 of those if I could.
The only thing is you'd have to model it up yourself unless you've got semantic points, because I think that's the only way you can buy them.
It's an exclusive semantic point one.
Yeah.
Okay.
So unless you've got some creativity there.
The next one?
The monster, the steel behemoth.
Well, I've come up against this guy a couple of times. And
I love my behemoth.
He's pretty tough.
So obviously he's a monster, but he's on a 50 by 100 mil base, so a chariot base.
Yep.
He's speed 4, pretty slow. Melee 5, doesn't hit very well. Defense 6, yes, pretty good. And D6 plus 20 attacks, which is awesome.
That's a lot of attacks.
Nerve is pretty good too at 1820. A monster price of 250 points.
I don't think that's that bad.
I find him, he's good, but the speed 4 is what drags him down.
Yep.
Because he's hard to get
too slow. Yeah.
The one thing that kind of makes up for it slightly, kind of, sorta, is that he's got a breath attack of 10.
Yep.
So at least he can spit at stuff that he can't reach.
He's multi-purpose, I think.
If you can get him into combat, you're looking at 20 to 26 crushing strength, 21 to 26 crushing strength 3 attacks.
Yep. Hitting on 5, he's not going to do. He's crushing strength 3, so he's going to do quite a bit of damage if he actually manages to.
Yeah, there's a bit of potential there, which I think also adds to the psychology of this is a monster that has the ability to knock things out pretty quickly. And he's hard to get rid of with that defense 6, 1820.
Yeah, I noticed that a couple of times. He's actually made it to combat with me, but I think he's almost a must take. I would take him for 250 points. I don't think you can go wrong, really.
No. And then I think we're getting onto the characters now, the heroes and whatnots. So starting off with your basic king in the dwarf army, standard stats, speed 4. He's a bit fighter because he's a king, so you'd think he'd be alright. That's melee 3, defense 6, attack of 5.
Yep.
13-15 nerve, which is okay for a character. 120 points. What does he bring to the table? Crushing strength 1, individual, because he's an individual.
And inspiring.
So he's a kind of sort of fighty, inspiring character.
Yes. I still see he's more of a defensive, supporting character. You can't just... With defense 6, you can probably throw him in front of a shitty little annoying unit to...
Or... it's hard because the speed 4, that kills him.
Yeah.
Because he can't run off to try and take a couple of wounds on some archers, because
Yeah.
it's going to take forever to get there. You'll
Not
probably
only that,
survive
you-
defense 6.
If you're going to do that, you're losing the ability of inspiring anyway. So
Yeah.
he's got to stay with your units. That inspiring will pay for itself
Yes.
a lot of the time.
And if your army's sitting back and your opponent comes, he can help out with the fight.
You just got to be wary to leave gaps that he can sort of
zapped.
get through, or I don't know.
Get shot at. That's what I'm always thinking about. Leaving gaps so you can see me and then, oh crap, you just shot me.
Yeah, I mean, there's always that, but he does have defense 6, so he's going to be hard to wound anyway, unless they're targeting something with a decent piercing or crushing strength if he makes it to combat. But I think he's pretty reasonably priced at 120. Magic items, what would you put on him?
I would try and make him more punchy, or maybe the healing. Nah.
I don't think there's really a lot you need to put on him, to be honest.
No, defense 6 is good.
For me, I see him as more of a supporting role.
Maybe a ranged weapon.
Yeah, one of the 5-point.
Yeah. A bow or
bows
hammer.
Yeah.
Hand grenades, maybe.
Yeah. I don't think he needs too much.
No.
Next entry.
It's the same dude on a large beast. A standard large beast.
Yep.
As the description says here, giant rodents and other unnaturally large burrowing creatures.
So it could be a giant badger.
Could be a giant badger. Standard stats with 2 more attacks. And nerve is the same. 50 points to make him a cavalry.
Yeah, you're
Large cav.
getting Thunderous Charge 2 to your to add to your rules, but you're losing the individual because he's on a large cav base.
I think this guy's pretty good for a fighting character.
Yeah, this I wouldn't say.
Because you don't need the defensive item on this guy. He can run out by himself on speed 7.
Yeah.
He's hitting things on merely 3 with 7 attacks.
Yep.
If he isn't hindered, he punches quite well as well.
Mm-hmm.
So it's hard with your inspiring, because if he's got that speed on him.
It depends on your army list, though. If you've got quite an aggressive dwarf list, he's not going to be that far in front.
Yeah.
He shouldn't be that far.
He shouldn't
in front. Yeah. Unless he's killed stuff and just gone on a D6.
Bugger it, let's go.
Let's go.
So anything to punch him, make him punch harder would be good, I reckon.
Yep, I'd agree with that one. I don't think there's too much more. I'd probably be more inclined to give him something that gave him extra crushing strength rather than Thunderous Charge, if that was possible. Again, comes down to the rest of your army list. But overall, like defense 6, he's hitting on 3s, 7 attacks. He's pretty good all round for 170 points. I'd even consider him just running him naked.
Yeah, he doesn't need anything to work.
Yeah. Next army list entry.
What have you got?
I've got Warsmith.
Okay. So this is the dude who takes care of all the machines.
Yes.
Keepers of the ancient secrets of steel. So this guy, he's more of a defensive character, more ranged. He's got melee 4, ranged 4, defense 5, 2 attacks.
Yep.
11, 13 nerve with 85 points. Comes with a pistol, which is something.
Extra handy shooting attack.
Crushing strength 1 individual, inspiring to war engines only.
So guess where he's hanging around?
Yeah. And piercing 1. So he sits with the machines, buffs them up, and can shoot and help out if need be. Items. I would probably think of adding a better ranged weapon. Something that's got a bit more range than a pistol.
Pistol, yeah. Because if the enemy's that close, they're in a bit of trouble anyway, aren't they?
So I would probably go the bow.
Yeah.
5 points. 24-inch range. I don't think he needs anything else.
And he gets the piercing 1 anyway, so...
Yeah.
Yeah, that's probably worth it. I don't think it's worth putting much more on him than that.
No.
Maybe, you could give him, like, a healing charm or something.
Mm-hmm.
Then if your war machines are taking damage, I don't know.
Your war machines are so low in nerve.
It's probably going to be one shot, and
yeah,
they're probably going to go off anyway. Yeah, true.
Hey, just going back to the king for a sec, what do you think about making him fly?
Yeah, maybe that's something you could give the king.
Because that's a flying defense 6 character who's individual, running about knocking archers about the head.
But if you're throwing your king, or if he's
Yes, you can have a
flying,
couple of kings. I've got take a couple of kings.
yeah, you can take. Yeah, I suppose if you're taking a couple of kings, you just don't want to lose your inspiring on your army. That's all.
No, which is why you take the next entry, army standard bearers.
Yes,
50-point inspiring character. That's it. Give him healing, maybe.
maybe. Yeah. See, I don't know about you, but I find that in the lists I've been playing, the army standard bearer doesn't even get a look at because the other characters have bigger roles.
I usually take at least one with every army because it's 50 points for inspiring.
Oh, I can understand where you're coming
Yep.
from. Just with in my undead, my Empire Dust, all my priests are inspiring,
Mm.
and my pharaoh is inspiring, and the big idol thing is inspiring. So
Well, you've already gone through your Empire of Dust.
yeah, I know. I'm just saying. For me, the army standard bearer in the undead list is just not worthwhile.
Yeah.
But in this army,
Works well.
works well.
Um,
Magic items.
Yeah, healing, like I said.
Yep.
Heal up your blocks because he's just sitting back. You don't want him in combat. He's only got one attack.
Yeah, so he's not going to be fighting anything.
And he's hitting on 5s.
Yep.
He's got a great big banner that he's holding. You can't fight.
Yep.
Again, a new favourite if you don't have the healing or if you've got 2 banners. Hand grenades. So anything that gets close, lob a hand grenade.
Next entry.
The Ranger Captain. So he's like the Ranger entry. Just slightly better because he's a captain.
Yep.
So melee 3. Fights a bit better. Ranges 4 is the same. Defense 5. 3 attacks. 11, 13 nerf and 90 points. He's got a crossbow like the others, which is a bow. Crushing strength 1. Individual inspiring to the rangers only.
Yep.
Pathfinder Vanguard. So this is a guy if you want to take, if you want to babysit your rangers. Maybe if you've got a couple of rangers.
Yeah. If they're in the same area.
I don't know how to use him because I haven't taken a bunch of rangers that need babysitting. Not sure how I would use this guy. He's not rubbish because he fights well, he shoots well, his defense is okay.
Yeah, I don't know.
But I feel for 90 points, I would take another unit of rangers, which is
I have found that a lot of those sort
45
of
points extra.
unit orientated characters, it's just better off to take
Another unit of
another
something.
unit of whatever that
Yeah.
is. Yeah.
I mean, the unit's a little bit more, but you get more attacks. It's
Could be a disposable character. I don't know. Such a low nerve value. He's going to get rolled before.
If you can think of a way how to use this guy, let us know in the comments. And I'd like to give it a go because I don't understand how this guy fits in with my list.
Yeah. Yeah. It's going to come down to your army list composition again, but
Mm.
I don't know.
It's
Move
a
on to the
weird
next one.
What is the next one?
I've got Berserker Lord.
All right. I think this is the same as with the Ranger fella. He's a Berserker by himself for 120 points. He's speed 5 like a standard Berserker, melee 3, defense 4, so he's slightly defensive compared to the Berserker,
Yep, 8 attacks.
and only 8 attacks.
It does have quite a high nerve value though.
But as do the Berserkers.
Yeah.
Uh,
I see this guy as being your disposable character that can actually do a bit of he's got a bit of punch behind him.
He's got inspiring to Berserkers only, individual as per other characters, and crushing strength 1. You can give him a Brock for 30 points, which
So
gives him
it's-
speed 8
Yeah.
and vicious,
Hmm.
which isn't so bad. 150 points for a speed 8 dude who's got crushing strength and vicious. Doesn't give him thunderous charge.
Nope.
That's weird.
That is a bit weird.
Anyway,
Yeah.
he's okay for what he does, I reckon.
No, I think he's
He's got more of a place than the other guy.
definitely more than a range captain. I could see either of those, Brock or on foot, quite usable. Magic items on foot.
More defense. He's got a high nerve.
That
Regen
is-
might work.
Even that
No.
ensnare one would be quite good, I think. Maybe. The ensnare item, minus
Yeah.
one. -1 to hit.
You can take a whole range of things without being crap.
Yeah, and even if you don't take an
Either
item,
way, like defensive or offensive, it works.
Yeah. Yep. All right.
Stone Priest.
Yes.
He's the dwarf magician.
The one that moves all your earth elementals.
Yeah, the mastery of earth magic. So take him for Surge.
If you're taking elementals, you need to take this guy.
Yep.
Otherwise, it's not worth taking the elementals.
He inspires earth elementals only, so you can't take him to inspire troops. He's not really a punchy character like most wizards. He's merely 4 defense, 5 2 attacks.
Yep.
105 points. You can give him the option of Bane Chant.
Which I think is brilliant, especially if you're taking earth elementals.
And that brings him up to 120.
You could also... I mean, you could use this guy without earth elementals and just take the Bane Chant. Brings him up to 120.
It's 120 points for Bane Chant.
Yeah, but all of a sudden it brings those Ironclad and your shittier infantry units up, but takes them up a notch as far as damage output goes. I'm not saying I would take it that way,
So
but
I would just think if you want that, and I guess you have to have used the other items to increase their damage, like crushing strength.
it comes
Yeah.
down to how you want it to run. Like even that Bane Chant on, say, your Berserkers with 30 attacks or whatever the hell they are. I could see that being handy. But I'd be taking Earth Elementals if I was taking a Stone Priest. It seems kind of pointless to pay for the Surge when you're not going to use it.
It's certainly not points efficient if you're doing it that way.
Yeah. Yep.
Maybe you like to play like that.
Maybe.
I played random goblins in Warhammer for a long time. I'm not points efficient at all. Now we're coming down to the bottom. This is the Living Legends.
Yes. I've
Or
got no
dudes I can think one of.
how to pronounce these names, so I'll leave that to you.
I'd say Sveri Eglax. But Edgelax, because there's no double G. Edgelax. Sveri Edgelax.
And this guy's a large cav guy, so he's quite quick. Move 8, hits on a 3 in combat.
This, if anyone's got the book, it's the dude on the Brock.
Yep.
The Berserker fella with his arms up wide and the sick ponytail.
Defense 4, 10 attacks. No wavering. He routes on a 19 and costs 240 points.
So he's quite a bit more than a Berserker Lord on Brock.
Yep.
What's the difference between the two? 2 more attacks? 2 more nerve?
This guy has... I don't have...
Elite. He's got
back.
elite. And he inspires everyone, not just Berserkers.
Okay, so that's a big difference.
And Thunderous Charge.
He gets Thunderous Charge and he's got... Yeah, okay. Whether he's worth 240 points is another thing, though.
And I also have to think you can't give him items. So
Yeah.
this is what you're stuck with.
Yep.
I think it's an awesome model.
I'd be using just the normal Berserker. I couldn't...
I think it ups the points too much. 240
Yeah, 240 is a big jump.
for 2 extra attacks and 2 nerve.
So 150 versus 240. Bear in mind
Certainly-
there's no magic items on that. But
Yeah, it's a much better damage output because of the elite and vicious. So hitting on 3s, re-rolling 1s.
Still usable. Be great in a Brock army.
I wouldn't take him
Berserker
every day
army.
of the week, but
No.
just for flavour, having him with maybe a Berserker Lord or 2 or 3 units of Brock Riders.
Yeah, that'd be pretty cool.
It gives me ideas if I had the money.
Next one.
Hernius the Hunter.
Yep.
He is a hunter character. So he's like a ranger. He has speed 5 like the rangers, melee 3, range 3, shoots better, defense 5, 3 attacks.
Yep.
12, 14 nerve, which is
That's alright.
140 points, which is, it's not bad.
He's
Crushing
Ooh.
strength 2,
Yeah.
individual inspiring as you'd expect. He only inspires rangers still though. Pathfinder, that's Vanguard, and on top of the rangers he has stealthy. So he's harder to shoot, which is what you want for someone who's going to be running with the rangers.
Mm-hmm.
He also has a unique weapon, the Skewerer. Magic crossbow, and it's a bow with piercing 3, essentially.
That's quite good. I mean, he's only got 3 attacks. He's hitting on 3 ups.
Yeah.
That could be quite handy against your, like shooting against characters monsters, even just to take off a couple of wounds to force a nerve test. Like piercing 3 is nothing to laugh at.
And people probably won't be shooting at him with individual and stealthy.
Yeah.
If you've got
So
him
you're gonna be
near a forest, you've got cover
2.
as well.
Yeah, -3 if there's cover involved.
With defense 5.
Yeah, he's going to be quite hard to move. So far out of special character. Well, he's looking to be the one I'd take.
And if you take him, you can change one of your rangers into his personal group, which gives him elite and stealthy for 20 points.
That's not bad.
If you're taking him, make sure you got rangers with this upgrade.
Yeah, yep.
'Cause that's pretty good.
And the last character?
Garrick, Heavy Hand. This is a dude with heavy hands. Standard Dwarf King stat, 3 up, fighting, defense 6, 5 attacks, 14-16 for 150 points. He's got a couple of interesting items on him. He also inspires and is individual as you'd expect.
Yep.
But he carries the Warp Hammer, which gives him crushing strength 3.
Which is quite good.
And the Shield of Myth, which is regeneration 6. Which is a bit...
Yeah, it's a bit meh.
But defense 6 with slowly getting his wounds back.
Could be good.
150 points. That's not so bad. I would take him.
When you're comparing him to a king, are you getting your...
Because the king's 120.
Yeah.
So for 30 points, you're getting crushing strength 3, regen 6.
Yep. He could be used.
I don't think there's any other different. His nerves higher as well by 1.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's option.
He's usable. He's not overly expensive. Obviously, you can't give him any other magic items, so that's what you're getting. He's just like a slightly kitted out king, I guess. And
that seems fair. It works.
For 150 points, is definitely usable. Out of the 3 characters, I could see the most use out of the hunter fella.
Mm-hmm.
But that's just me.
Yeah.
I think that's it.
Yep. So characters and their builds. If you were to write a list, how would you have your characters?
See, for my army, I'd definitely be running Earth Elemental, so I'd at least want one
Stone Priest. And what would you give him?
I'd definitely be giving him the Bane Chant. Magic item wise, the one that gives you +2 to your magic rolls, +2 to the value. I can't remember what it's called.
Yeah, one with the extra surge.
I'd probably that's the one. I think it gives you +2 to any spell you cast. I think.
I'll just have a quick skim through while you keep talking.
I'd be taking probably a king. I'd probably run the king on foot though. I'd be not playing a defensive army. I'd sort of run at. I think in Kings of War you kind of got to run at the objective.
Yeah.
You can't just afford to sit there and sit back.
The Phenulian Amulet gives you Lightning Bolt 2 extra.
Oh, okay. I thought there was an item that gave you an extra 2 to your casting.
The Grimoire of Unspeakable Darkness gives you extra surge.
So it might be that might be what I'm thinking of. With your Earth Elementals, that'd be quite handy, I think. So you go from, I think it's Surge 8 to Surge 10?
It's to Surge 12.
Surge 12, is it?
Yeah.
Ah. Okay, yep, that's what I'd be taking. I'd probably be taking a king, maybe 2 kings, depending, and then it would be a toss-up between maybe the Hunter special character.
Mm-hmm.
Standard Bearer, I think it comes down to how you're going to play the army and where your inspiring characters are going to sit.
Yeah.
Are they going to be out there cutting stuff down, or are they boosting stuff? Yeah. That'd be me.
I like the idea of a flying dwarf character.
Yeah, I don't mind the idea of that. The other one, I see, because I haven't written up a dwarf list, I'm not quite sure on points and whatnot, but Warsmith would be the obvious other inclusion for characters.
If you've got war machines, well, especially those cheaper ones.
Yep.
The flame weapon and the organ gun.
Yep.
Because elite is super handy.
I think that's what I would take. So I'm thinking 1 or 2 kings, a Warsmith, Definitely the Stone Priest, because I would definitely be taking Earth Elementals in my army if I was making a Dwarf list. And if I had the spare points, the Hunter would...
Yep.
The Hunter special character, or Living Legend, whatever you want to call it, would get a go.
Yep.
What about you?
Yeah, pretty much the same. Again, I'd like the idea of a Flying King.
Yep.
Your Stone Priest, I would do the same, Bane Chant, and...
Give it the extra surge.
Yep, boosted surge.
Yep.
I like my Standard Bearers, so if I had them, I'll probably give them things to buff or maybe shoot.
Like your hand grenades or something along that line.
Or a bow, just something to help out a little bit.
Yep.
Warsmith, I'd take naked.
Yep.
Or a bow, if the other guys aren't taking it. Probably wouldn't take things on beasts unless I was running a cav army.
Yeah, I think they're very, very specialised.
My flavour there.
Yep.
And I wouldn't take the ranger characters without rangers.
Yep. Yeah, that's understandable. I think I would be taking rangers in a dwarf list anyway, just to be a pain in the arse.
Good to be a pain in the arse.
Yeah.
Alright, so with the list, gone through all the different units, I've got an example army list that I've used before.
Ben's had a bit of success with it. This doesn't mean this is the only dwarf list that will
This
work.
is just one that I've come up with that I think works well. So this is 2,000 points because that's what we play around here. What I started off with is a regiment of Iron Guard. They're my defensive block for holding things up. I've also given them the Scrying Gem.
That's very good.
Because I don't think they need anything else in terms of defense or offense. It's not what I'm going to use them for.
Yep.
And having my opponent deploy a couple extra gives me the ability to dictate where I want things to go.
Yeah, exactly. I think you need that as a dwarf anyway.
And
making sure your war machines are in the right spot.
Yeah.
And your troops, because you don't have the speed that other armies have. I think you sort of need to be able to figure out where they're going to be before you put down your more important units.
I've also got a troop of rangers, just because I think they're good to zip around.
Yep.
I've gone for some sharpshooters as well, a troop of sharpshooters, and the piercing arrow to reroll one of the damage. Because I don't have a lot of war machines in this list, I feel they could be useful.
Yep.
There should be some fairly reliable pips of wounds on my opponent. Next up, I've got a horde of shield breakers, and these guys have the blessing of the gods for elite. So 25 attacks, hitting on 4s, rerolling 1s, crushing strength 2.
Those guys are nasty as.
I've always had some good success with these guys. They usually attract a lot of attention in terms of fire from the opposition, and when they get into punch, they punch. Punch, punch, punch.
Nothing much stands in the way when those guys make combat, that's for sure.
I've decided to go with some earth elementals as well. So I've got a horde with the chant of hate for vicious. Just adds a bit more to their offensive power.
Yep.
Defense 6, that should be reliable to hang about.
They're gonna be a great anvil, I think.
And because every good dwarf list should have Berserker Rock Riders, I've got a unit of Berserker Rock Riders, a regiment. And I've given them nimble. I like being able to pivot twice.
Yep. I remember the first time you ran those guys, I took them off, but the second time...
Yeah, I misplaced them wrong, got a flank, and then...
Don't underestimate Surge, that's the...
Bloody Surge.
That's the story behind that one, but anyway.
The one war machine I got was... I'm bringing along is an organ gun, because I like the 15 shots over one shot and hopefully it hits.
Yep.
I don't have a Warsmith with this one, so he's just sitting there doing his thing. I'm hoping people will try and go for it because he's not worth that much.
Yep.
And I'm okay with that. Just another thing to think about, especially when I've got other things that I want to protect. I've got 2 standard bearers in this list to inspire my blocks, keep things holding. The Iron Guard from running away and my shield breakers from being destroyed before they get into what I want them to get into.
Yep.
And they also have both a healing charm and the other guy's got a warbow just to annoy people. Healing charm plus shield breakers is win.
That's really good because they're hard enough to get through
Yeah.
by themselves without being healed.
And because I'm running Earth Elementals, I'm taking a Stone Priest, Bane Chant 2, and the Grimoire of Unspeakable Darkness for Surge 12. To go with the Elementals, I've got their bigger brother, Greater Earth Elemental. So I've got two fellas to choose from. I think if you're taking a priest, you shouldn't just take one unit of elementals, because people will know, okay, so it's going to
be
surge
the
out.
surge, yeah. It becomes pretty predictable as to what you're going to do with that surge, yeah.
Two or three.
I agree, yeah.
I've thrown in a battle driller just to protect my flanks and rears from annoying flying guys or small fellas.
Yep.
Should take them out fairly reliably. And because I got 250 points left over, what do I want to buy? Oh, this Steel Behemoth. What are you doing here? Oh, okay, join my army. Sounds good, thanks. Steel Behemoth, 250 points. Because it's a Steel Behemoth.
That thing has been the bane of me a couple of times.
So much fun.
Yeah.
But that's my list. Iron Guard Rangers, Sharpshooters, Shield Breakers, Earth Elementals, Greater Earth Elemental, Brock Riders, Organ Gun, 2 Standard Bearers, Stone Priest, and a Behemoth with a Battle Drill.
See, if I was doing a dwarf list, mine probably wouldn't vary that much from what Bensome has just listed there. I don't know about the army standard bearers. I'd probably go for more versatile characters, but that's just me.
That is just you.
That is just me.
Have you beat me yet? That's just him.
That's just me. That's just how I roll.
There's plenty of variation with the dwarf list, I find. Cavalry helps a lot. I would like to do a couple of units if I had the figures. Or you could go the boring gun line if you wanted to.
I think that's really dull. I don't think being a gun line's going to help you in any
It
of the
is
scenarios.
dull, and especially with scenarios, but if you're playing Warhammer and you're used to that, you can take it.
Yeah.
You're not going to win friends with salad though.
No. The other thing is, it's probably, like with the scenarios, it's probably going to win you one scenario, and that's probably you might win kill scenario, but if anything actually makes it to you, you're going to be in a world of hurt.
Yeah. But I think that's about it. We've got here. Do we have any particular army builds for scenarios? I think you want an all-round list. You need guys who can run in. You need some speed. Rangers would be good. Rock Riders would be good.
Anything that has extra speed to take tokens or objectives or whatever you want to call it. So your Rangers, your Brock Riders, even your Berserkers would be or could be handy in smaller like troops or something.
Moving 5 is still pretty good.
Yeah.
I think what I've written out was a fairly well-rounded list. It's got some speed, it's got some long-range attack, it's got some anvils, it's got some hammers. I don't think it has much problems with anything really.
All I would say is you don't take a gunline army list and expect to win all 6 scenarios.
Especially if you go into a tournament and you're playing different scenarios. It's not going to work.
Yep.
Not that I feel anyway.
No, I don't think it'll work either. You're never going to get the objectives. You're not going to... Even if you're shooting really well, I don't think you're going to take everything off.
No, you have to be shooting really
well.
But I think that's it.
Yep.
Right, so that's our dwarf army review. We'll probably go through every army that we can, and let you guys know what our thoughts are on them.
Yep.
If you have opposing thoughts or opinions, let us know, because we'd like to change our way of thinking for some things. If you can use something that we don't think is very good or is using it differently to how we're thinking, let us know.
Leave it in the comments or send us an email at
directmisfire@gmail.com. You can't remember our email, can you?
I should, seeing I created it.
Other than that, I think we're done here.
Yep.
This is Bensome
and Spoon.
See ya.
See ya.